Welcome, everyone, to the initial episode of Worst Movie of the Year, in which we go over the worst movie of a particular chosen year. We watch it, put ourselves through the ringer, and then we come back to talk to you guys about it, to any of our listeners out there. Before we get a little more of what the concept is and where we're going, let's probably explain who the voices you're hearing tonight are. Go ahead, Tony, tell us about yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tony Kay. I am a freelance writer who resides in Seattle. I write for a couple of different websites. I panel at Crypticon with some frequency. And I am also one of the co-podcasters and cohorts of Mr. Bob Foster on the lovely City of Geek podcast.
Jason?
Name's Jason Weiss. I'm also a panelist with some of these guys at Crypticon the past few years. I'm a musician at heart, so I record under the name Laughing Window, an ode to House of Laughing Windows.
Woohoo!
And a lifelong horror fan.
And Seth?
I am Seth Sherwood. I am also somebody who hangs out at Crypticon a lot. Am a screenwriter. I wrote Hellfest, 2017's Leatherface, and more recently I've been working as a writer on the Hulu show Light as a Feather.
Awesome.
All teen girl horror all the time.
It's still good stuff. Yeah, I like all those projects. So,
Amen.
And I'm Bob Foster, one of the other founders of City of Geek. We do have another podcast, City of Geek podcast, you can find as well, citygeek.com, with our reviews, analysis, review, everything else that we're working on. We do have that regular podcast that comes up as we hit the time to do it. Actually, we have two ready to go up as we record this, so I'm kind of behind. Kim's probably wondering if I post this first, what I'm doing wrong. But we decided to do this side project because, I, like everyone who's sitting here, so much of our friends, love awful movies. I watch so many bad movies. And I'm aware there's other podcasts and websites that do go through bad movies as well, how this get made, good bad movies, a bunch of other people. But I wanted to throw my own hat in the ring and get together different panels of people week to week, depending on what movie we're looking at, and just watch these pieces of shit and then talking about them because that's fun. It's better. It's more fun to talk about bad movies than just the good movies, if you ask me. Though I love my good movies. And the basic concept here is, instead of choosing something randomly, I'm gonna pick something. I'm gonna use a random number generator from 1965, I think is the year I chose, to now, and then I'll go to Metacritic and choose the lowest movie rated that's still available in some way. So I do have my next movie lined up. I'll say what it is at the end. And then we'll see who wants to talk with me about it next week. So it won't always be horror. And then it'll just be whatever's down there. If we already talked about movie for that year, we'll move on to the next movie. If it's not available, then move on to the other thing from there. In this case, I'm actually breaking the rules for the very first episode. Because
Yay!
Some of the rules can be this: if something notorious comes out, I want to talk about it. Like this. For tonight's movie, Verotika doesn't have Metacritic rating. In fact, it has 1 rating at all. No critic ratings, 1 audience rating, which is a 1 out of 10. And so, but I've been waiting to watch this forever, and I figured this would be the perfect inaugural movie for this podcast.
It's got I saw a 1.9 on IMDb, which is amongst the lowest.
And that's coming from IMDb ratings. But yeah, so we're talking about Verotika. It's probably, I saw it in the opening on the title page. If you're coming to it because you search for Verotika, welcome to listening to our first episode. And some of us have watched this movie more than others because they hate themselves more. But that's giving a little bit Tony.
I would be the one who is exercising the master's degree in guilty ex-Catholic masochism, as I have watched this film 6 times.
Because you hate yourself for some reason. This is not the best birthday present to yourself, Tony.
Well, this is the thing. The same morbid fascination that governs true crime obsessives who pore over the most grotesque misdeeds that have been wrought by man for the most minute details is kind of what governs my fascination with this thing. It's that indescribable. But we'll give it a shot.
Yeah, it can barely be described as a movie.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
The fact that it's called a movie, but yes.
There you go. A movie in name only. I think, Bob, you hit the nail on the head when we were talking about this off air. like several days ago, and you said that the aesthetic was very much an early 90s Skinamax movie. And it really, visually, it just nails that. I mean, I don't know if that's the visual homage that writer-director Glenn Danzig was going for, but it sure as hell came through loud and clear to us.
Actually, I don't think I was the one who said Skinamax. I think that might have been Jason, might have been someone else on the page. I was comparing it to like something it's a bad full moon movie, sitting next to all the other bad ones in the bottom shelf of a forgotten Hollywood video
in the early 90s. Yes.
Yeah. It has that feel,
which is apt also. Yes.
Like though the movie, I actually like this particular movie I'm about to mention. It did remind me like of The Dead Hate the Living and like that style of filmmaking and the way things looked, but it looks like 1994 and it got stuck and it's popped out now. It's 26 years later to feast upon our eyeballs.
I mean, the thing that's interesting about the pseudo porny look to it is that I'm not sure that Glenn Danzig has actually ever had sex. Because I remember I actually read the Verotika comics back in the 90s when they were out, and they were pretty graphic. And I wasn't expecting like a porno, but I was at least expecting some sort of a level of eroticism. And this was like, despite like a few nude scenes, like it was like anti-erotic. Like
oh
God, it was like, it was like it wasn't a boner killer, it was like a boner retract into the body.
I do have in my notes that it feels like it is like, it didn't call it Skinamax, like it feels like a porn, like a sexy porn movie, whatever, though it's neither of those when it calls sex by any means, but it stops before any of the sex actually starts.
Exactly, yes, exactly.
Yeah, I actually think he was kind of going for some sort of Gene Roland, Jess Franco redemption films kind of thing, especially with the sort of not the narrator, because she doesn't actually, or she doesn't, the host, I guess, doesn't actually introduce anything, but I think she was definitely meant to be a Eileen Daly kind of character.
Yeah. As I was watching the third vignette, especially, one of the notes I wrote down was an obvious attempt at homaging the languid, dreamlike intertwining of eroticism and death that John Roland played with, only real shitty. And that pretty much that's the aesthetic that I mean, it's really ironic to me, I think, that this guy who a movie this out of touch and amateurish was excreted by the same guy who fronted the Misfits. Because Danzig's Misfit stuff and his best early solo work capture the atmosphere and the spirit of the trash horror that he obviously loves so much, with a lot more fidelity and visceral efficacy than this fucking movie does.
I think
and I know, and another footnote, I never want to hear anybody piss and moan about Rob Zombie directing movies.
I think that I feel like in the same way that Glenn Danzig has never actually had sex, I would say that I don't think he's actually seen a movie since the movies he watched. He was watching movies that were like 20 years old when he was in the Misfits. Everything was about from like a 50s or 60s B horror film. I don't know if he's ever watched anything other than those movies. So by comparison, in his mind, what he was making was Citizen Kane in comparison to what he watched back then.
Which is ironic as hell. I guess, we should probably do a quick setup of the movie, which is, in case you haven't heard already, Verotika is written and directed by ex-Misfit, current solo artist Glenn Danzig, and it is a 3-segment anthology horror film. It's kind of my notes I wrote. It's an 11-year-old's idea of Euro horror mixed with his favorite things: bad metal music, bondage, Metal Gear, naked girls, gore, with a production designed by Hot Topic. Because that's pretty.
I got Hot Topic on my notes as well.
When you say that, it almost sounds like it would be really cool.
Yes, but it's all in the execution, man. It's all in the execuction.
On paper, 13-year-old me would have loved this,
Oh, yeah, me too.
Of course, I think Tony's probably the only 11-year-old who watched Euro trash movies when they were new. That Lakewood cinema.
If you tell me it's like, sorry, go ahead, Bob.
Oh no, it's like this is pure amateur across the way in every manner. Like I don't think he's seen a movie before. I don't think he knows how anything works. This makes the common phrase is it makes Tommy Wiseau look like a genius. But the room is like miles above this. This is just almost trash. Like I don't even know if I want to watch it again, let alone 6 times like Tony.
Oh,
maybe the first like hour like was interesting enough. Then the last half hour is just dull as shit.
See, this is my vantage point. This is probably why I'm the only one of us idiots who watched this more than once.
Twice.
Okay, good. I don't feel completely isolated and alone. But this is the thing about this movie that really struck me. It is the last half hour especially. It felt like a Saturday Night Live skit version of a Jean Rollin or Jeff Franco movie. I mean, literally, because the thing that was cracking me up, the third story, in case you don't know already, is about a Contessa of Blood who drinks the blood of virgins, because that's what you do when you're a medieval countess.
Tony, it's
yes.
Virgens.
Oh, Virgens, yes. And I'll bet that was an homage to Udo Kier.
Yeah, I think you're giving more credit to Glenn Danzig than any of us will.
I'll take the glass half full. It was really funny because I kept on watching it and thinking, Danzig thinks that one endless shot of this woman bathing in blood and making Google eyes is somehow artistic.
Again and again.
Yeah, again, the longest bathtub scene.
Yeah, and that the repetition
all 4 of these sequences. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, and the repetition of like a couple of minor piano notes in the score. And basically the pattern of one scene without any beginning, middle, or end is actually artistic. So
yeah, that's the thing with that third story. There is no beginning, middle, or end. It's really just a middle.
Again, it's a fucking 11-year-old watching like Rape of the Vampire or something and like trying to pattern after it on a home video camera. And you gotta love the dialogue. I mean, first of all, you've got another shitty accent, and we need to talk at length about the first episode. And
we should probably at some point talk about them in
semi-order. Maybe we should do that.
But okay, well, let's just do that. Let's back it up then, and let's go to the first story, which is called "The Albino Spider of Danzig."
So we should probably say that. Warn for spoilers. But in this case, I don't know if they're spoilers so much as they are, we're taking bullets for you if you haven't seen it.
I should have mentioned that in the opening that, if we're going deep into a movie and anything, whatever we're watching, it's going to be spoilerific. I hope that I don't hope that anyone actually watched this movie other than us. But if you don't want to be spoiled, you already been spoiled now, but.
Which means you need to go see it, watch it now, and then come back.
It's only like $4 on Amazon. Yeah, it's $4.93 of your time.
Is about $3.90 too much.
Which is the length of a good Saturday Night Live skit, which is that appeals to obscuro geeks like us, basically. If it were targeted that way. So the albino spider of Danzig. The thing that floored me is when the movie first opens. There's a guy and a girl coupling on a couch, and the guy starts speaking this strange tongue that I don't quite understand. He's saying "sat seat." What sat seat? And I'm like, sat on the seat? Sat what seat? And then I realized that he's saying "that's it" in a really crappy French accent. And then at one point he says "Cam appeared." And I realized that that's shitty French accent for "come up here." And then it becomes clear that this movie is set in an alternative France where nobody actually speaks French, a few couple of like terms of endearment accepted, because everyone in this bizarro France only speaks English in a shitty French accent. Yeah. What kind of whacked out conceit is that? That is something that is like somebody put so much thought into making that the aesthetic of this movie. Or of this segment. It just, oh my God, it's mind-blowing.
There's literally no reason why this needs to be in Paris, I suppose.
Oh no. And
there's no locale references to it whatsoever.
It's the same 4 crappy sets, it's filmed in someone's garage. The sets that come out of a bad porno where someone's, in their garage haunted house.
Well, yeah, there are a lot of porn actors in this, including
fair enough.
Dejette herself is a porn actress.
Oh wow, I did not know that.
Oh yeah.
Although I'm not surprised. So so basically the movie opens with Dejette, the title character, making out with this guy on a couch, and he tells her to come up here. Or come up here, excuse me. And he starts to try to lift her tank top. And so he lifts the tank top, and spoiler alert, her breasts have eyes where her nipples should be. And
Oddly
then after
enough,
that,
this does nothing to do with the plot.
yeah. And then
there.
after that, one of the best choices, Seth, if you put your name on a line of dialogue this good ever, you should be canonized. The first line he says when he sees this is, "Your teats, they are looking at me."
That's literally in my notes too.
Oh, okay. And it just gets better from there. And yes, why do her titties have eyes? Who knows? Go with it,
But
I love her reaction when he gets scared too. She's like, ugh, why does every guy just get scared when he sees the eyes on my tits? It happens again.
I mean, she's so filled with plastic anyway. Why you should be surprised if there's plastic eyes on her tits? It's made out of plastic, like from top to bottom. So might as well.
To me, that makes the statement of like I mean, anything. I mean, obviously, when you're writing, you're making your own shit up. You can do anything you want. The one thing that you have to do when telling any sort of story is there has to be some sort of baseline. So like especially in a horror story, you're like, this is normal. This is the monster. This is the other. This is the scary thing. There is never any frame of what is normal. I mean, like eyeballs on tits could be normal in this like alternate universe, France, where nobody speaks French. Like there's never any sort of like, there's no sort of like grounding principle that says why anything is the way it is.
Especially since people don't react at all to like a giant albino spider. Because
Right.
it's like, they like look at him for a second. Like when the police come in to shoot the spider at the end, they're like, huh. Okay.
So,
I'm like, react.
I think it bears mentioning to kind of get people caught up on kind of what we're talking about is there's a bad CGI albino spider crawls up a rose that's in Dejette's room, and then one of Dejette's titty tears lands on the spider. The spider badly CGI morphs into an arachnid guy who's basically kind of a six-armed Freddy Krueger as designed by the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers design team and built on a budget that would cover maybe 4 Happy Meals and constructed by Sid and Marty Krofft. That's
giant gaping hole at the bottom of his costume that drove me nuts.
You can see the strings between the two lower sets of arms.
Oh God, I know. And I now this is the thing. Since he's French, rather than call him Le Nick Breaker, which is his official title in the movie, I prefer to call him Spider Garçon. So Spider Garçon surfaces to kill people in the real world when crying titties falls asleep.
Which is another thing. It's kind of like, okay, that's a thing that happens. And then he gets like, what's weird is sometimes she seems like she's asleep when he's there. Sometimes she's awake when he's there. Always with a woman that he's having sex with, even though he has no genitals.
Yes, apparently.
It's a thing.
And by the way, that CGI sequence was like straight up PlayStation 1 era cutscene.
Thank you. Yes.
So much of the film actually reminded me of like full motion video of that time. Like there's like a Ripper video. Do you guys ever play that Ripper game with Christopher Walken in it? It reminded me like those type of shots and those like 7-disc thing you would buy from Babbage's for like $5 and like
that actually is a
$19.99.
great unifying principle of what this movie is actually a collection of cutscenes from a shitty 90s horror video game.
That makes sense.
Absolutely. Game, set, and match. The thing that jars you out is that even those were better edited than this is. Because there are points where Danzig holds a shot for so long, it's like the editor like nodded off, like fell asleep, and then like somebody startled him, and then he did the cut after he had been dozing for like 10 seconds.
And there have been at least like 2 or 3 camera shakes in the meantime.
Lots of camera shakes. Yes.
And at this point, the actors are running out of lines. They're kind of staring off in the distance. So maybe say a line and something they'll make up.
Scene edit. Fade to black.
It's like, we need this to be 89 minutes long, so we need to just hold the shot.
Yeah. So who do you think had the best and the worst French accents in the first segment? I'm curious.
Definitely the waiter at the cafe.
Yes.
With the neck tattoos barely hidden. La neck breaker. Yeah, I love that scene because she goes to that cafe and is sitting
which has
below
a neon sign that says cafe.
Cafe, just so we, the audience, know where she's actually wandered into.
Also, just a minor logic problem. There's 6,000 of them. If you are a woman who has eyeballs on your breasts and you're faced with living this life and you need to make a living and you have a job, obviously the first thing you'd want to do is become a fetish model who does photo shoots. You don't want to ever have to show your tits.
Thank you.
Very awkward photo shoots with models just sort of lazily swaying back and forth.
Well, and the great part is this occurs after the first killing, which is of course one of Dejette's friends, and there's this absurd exchange between her fellow models and her because she wakes up from her nightmare. And for me, it's a little hard to swallow the show of empathy when it's being delivered with zero irony by a bunch of models in bondage gear that are mangling French accents. I'm sorry, that just was a little bit of a stretch for me.
Who doesn't notice that one of the models is asleep on your set? They're all standing there doing their thing, and she's just asleep to the side. No one's running this thing. No one's doing anything.
And I gotta do a shout out to the actor who played Spider Garçon, because I thought he was extremely amusing. He was terrible, but he was like full on invested terrible. The actor's name is Scotch Hopkins, and Scotch Hopkins, as in Scotch, which you should be drinking if you're watching this movie. But yeah, super hammy. Like an Inspector Clouseau level accent. So he's probably the second best. I think the best French accent in the movie belongs to the blonde hooker that gets threatened with sodomizing by Spider Garçon before Spider Garçon breaks her neck.
Thank you for specifying which blonde hooker.
Yeah.
The one he wants to fuck in the ass, I think he says.
Yes, exactly.
Very, very specific.
Yes.
Compared to the blonde hookers in the second segment.
Which may point to that points to the auteur's sensibilities for sure.
I'm looking at Mr. Scotch's IMDb page, and he works a lot.
Oh man!
I mean, I've heard of none of these things. Oh no, wait! There's Gangster Protocol, Alien Siege, Virus of the Dead, Bloodcraft.
Sounds like things made in Romania for $5 and a pizza.
Yep, that's exactly it.
Yeah. Okay. This is just ridiculous because nothing, everything that happens for both this segment and the rest are so disconnected from each other. And the cheapness just shines through. In particular of this segment, when she goes to the movie theater, he couldn't actually get a movie theater, so he built this crappy theater. And then, did you guys notice that the projection booth was just a fan in front of a light?
Oh, hell yes. Hell yes. Oh, and again, okay, second, well, one of many great choice lines in the movies is when she's sitting in the theater. Now, mind you, this is a model who's just been giving a Hummer to a jaded French guy who, insulted her eyeball titties. And she's watching this porn film with like 3 other guys in the theater, and she says, "This film, it is only people making sex."
I wrote that one down.
I also want to point out the small detail of the exterior of this Parisian movie house. The one of all the theaters, because obviously this was shot in Los Angeles, where Danzig lives. Yeah. Of all the theaters with marquees in the Los Angeles area,
yes,
the one he chose as the one was the Los Angeles Theater.
Yes.
So I'm just going to assume there's a Los Angeles Theater in Paris. And that's just,
It could happen. There are Americophiles over there, so it could happen.
I guess.
Yeah. So
I mean, actually, funny enough, there is a Paris theater in Portland, at least it used to be years ago when I lived there, and it was a porn theater.
Yeah.
Maybe the Los Angeles is the porn theater in Paris.
Perhaps.
That's solid
It's
logic.
American Smut. That's all I play.
Oh.
Women with eye titties.
Eye titties. Yes, thank you. What did you guys think of the? Didn't you love the twist at the end? I didn't see it coming.
Oh, where she kills herself.
all this like stone silence.
I was trying to remember for a second. It's like, what?
Well, I like how
particular
she
one?
first calls the cops and just, or calls the police and just says, "I'd like to report a murder," and just sort of hangs up. Like there's no questions, there's no follow up. Cops just know what's going on and just roll on in. It's really funny. Yeah, it's really funny when they do arrive and they got that battering ram to break the door down, and they're doing it so gently because the actor is obviously afraid he's going to knock the whole stuff down.
That whole wall shakes like that.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. I kept on waiting for it to just
amazing.
totally give. And you know damn well he would have left it in. Oh my god.
So you get one go and that's it, even if you're shooting digital in his case.
Yeah. Oh god.
But
Yeah,
they get in there,
and
they
then-
look at the spider dude, Spider Garçon, and they stare at him. They look and they yell.
Yeah, what they call him, just some pale face or something like that.
Thank you. And no big deal. No big deal. It's just a six-armed spider guy who's been breaking the necks of women for the last God knows how long. And it does include that, of course, what's the closing line? It's yet another, Glenn Danzig bon mot, which is Sergeant, her breasts, our eyes. Barring actual clips, I'm gonna do that with every crappy accent that is posited at me.
Yeah, no
because
clips in
even
this
I
one.
could do better than they did in the movie.
I don't have the time nor desire to go through the movie again and pull out audio clips. That means I have to rent it again too, because my 48 hours is already done.
So the second episode is Change of Face.
Well, you're skipping over that there's like a horror host for all of these.
Borrelia or whatever.
Oh,
her name is.
thank you. And actually, I
doesn't
must
actually
say,
introduce anything. She just has a really bad pun. Like I think for this one, she's like, "There you go, the eyes have it."
yes,
That's
exactly.
like it. And then there's just like the title screen for the next story.
Yeah.
Oh,
And the random eye gouging actually starts the movie with the full style.
my
Yeah,
eyes.
I was going to say that's a nice attention-getting opening, but it doesn't really have a lot to do with the rest of the fucking movie.
Nope. Also played by a porn star.
Yeah. I'm assuming everyone in this movie was.
Although I will say, I'll give her props. She at least sort of seemed to be having fun and seemed to kind of trying to be acting, sort of. Whereas that particular skill was something that the rest of the cast was either unwilling or unable to provide. So there's something there. I'll give her a minor bonus point.
Jet had a tough time.
Yeah, there you go.
But then we slide into Change of Face, which has a woman who is scarred in some way, and she keeps killing prostitutes in the same alleyway, taking off their faces, wearing it once, and then putting them on the wall. She's a stripper who doesn't strip.
Not putting them on the wall, nailing them.
Yes.
Yes.
Being followed by a cop who apparently is a psychic of some way.
Yeah, it's basically this is the reason why Glenn Danzig had if he didn't see a lot of Eurotrash horror, then he must have had it described to him by someone who did. And I'm leaning towards the latter because again, this movie on paper, this segment rather, is kind of an homage to Georges Franju's Eyes Without a Face, Les Yeux Sans Visage, with some Jess Franco faceless in it, and a tiny itsy bitsy teeny weeny bit of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre with the little face tableau thing going on. So that's where we are. And for the record, I didn't think she looked bad at all with the scars, man.
Yeah, she would have been fine.
I'm like you're all right. You should be able to do all right without wearing other people's faces or putting them on the wall. But oh, and I'm sorry. This is the side effect of me having watched this fucking movie a half a dozen times. Is I have to quote lines, and one of them is one of the choicest bits of poetry that this movie offers, which is saying a lot, which is her little kind of haiku / free verse, which is, "Dead skin mask that I wear, it fits so right. Makes me feel like I'm alive, like I'm not the disfigured freak I am." Thank you.
Beautiful.
Well done. Well done.
I like to.
And it's, but yeah,
What Bob said about the stripper who doesn't strip, that it again ties into my theory about this film. Danzig has never had sex. Danzig has never seen a modern movie that wasn't a porn. And I don't know if Danzig's ever seen a stripper, because he has this cast clearly made up of porn stars. I'm sure at least half of them started with stripping, and yet the one he chooses to put in this role is the one who doesn't know how to strip. It doesn't, and like, the story is she's the greatest mysterious stripper ever. But she just kind of flails around and does nothing.
Exactly, flails with her cape, with her nipples covered by.
And her mask that covers up even the fact she just stole a face. So why does she need the mask?
I will say the Mysteria mask, or the outfit that she wears at the end, is a nice bit of protective fetish gear in this COVID-19 era. I was pretty impressed with that.
Would you have to? Hey, strippers are essential personnel.
Amen. I sat there watching this and thinking, and the lighting, I'm looking at scattered notes here. The lighting is like a high schooler's version of Creep Show. Strippers strip endlessly to super trashy butt rock / hair metal / new metal. This is one low rent strip club with just a few ratty looking patrons. Then the mystery girl stripping, not stripping to an actual Danzig song. So, or is it I think it's a Danzig song. Yeah,
for like 4 times. This is a movie of repetition again.
I would like to give Glenn some props for his restraint, because he very easily could have just done only his own songs for the entire movie. The fact that he put other music that wasn't his in there, I thought, very humble.
So you mentioning Creep Show, because I did in my notes. He was like, if Creep Show wanted to be sexy, or but didn't know what it was. The striptease to Jodie Farrell.
Yeah, it's amazing how long those strip scenes go on. I think in my notes I wrote like the musicians must have been like producers, and the requirement was they have an entire song put in.
I started to wonder if for any sort of distribution deal, he had to have a minimum runtime, because he basically had about a half hour worth of like movie here, and just between the endless long takes and the full songs and everything, I think that sort of was maybe there to pad things out a little bit.
Just a little. Yeah, I mean, the stripper scenes, they're like endless, and they just keep on going, and they keep on going, and it's just at some point you just kind of either give in to the surrealism of it, or you just give up entirely and walk out on it. I lean towards the former, obviously, since I watched this damn thing 6 times. But I wrote Jess Franco zooms, more stripping, endless stripping without nudity. When there's gratuitous nudity throughout the other 2 stories, the point is question mark.
And more bumbling cops.
Oh yes.
Sort of standing around crime scenes. Just sort of
only with the worst evidence. We have nothing to trace them at besides this trail of blood, all this gore. We have nothing to go on. There's no evidence. They just call it a day, walk away.
Well, that's where he's like, Sergeant Mr. Clean or whatever is like, where's her face? Whoever did this just left with it, and then he's like, well, there's your motive. They wanted her face.
No, there's no motive, Tony. There's no motive to these murders. It's completely a random act.
There's no motive to this movie.
Well, based upon that opening, the kill scene of that segment, there isn't a murder, because she just wanted to die, because she just stood there like 25 feet away, holding the knife, and then the woman who gets killed kind of stares back at her, like, oh, it's a knife. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna kill you. Oh, it's a knife.
And there's no running. There's no it's like, again, SNL skit.
The
totally.
removal of the faces, again, part of my core theme, he fucks up the things that he's promising you. Like, you think It's Danzig. There will be sex. There will be music. There will be gore. Like, with all things to like get that would have been easiest to get right in this movie, nudity and gore. Like who went into this not just like saying this is a nudity and gore movie, and those are the things that are routinely screwed up. The face.
Oh God, yeah.
Like he could have. I mean, anybody, any horror fan whatsoever in effects in this town in LA would like be like do gory stuff for Glenn Danzig for like in a weird video.
Oh fuck yeah,
100%. And yet it's the worst effects like you've seen. Both this one and the blood in the next one and the face ripping in this one. It was like I'm surprised he knew to cut the camera because like it's woman's face, knife coming towards it, cut to another angle, then cut back, and there's like some Play-Doh being pulled off her face. Like it literally made me think of the episode of The Office where Dwight puts a piece of bologna on his face to do like Silence of the Lambs. Like that's how good it looked.
Yeah, I also wanted to mention that cop you referred to as Mr. Clean is the only actor I actually recognize because he's actually the bad Karate Kid in Karate Kid Part 3.
Oh my God, dude!
Oh my God!
Okay, that's one of two semi like.
And then there's a pro wrestler. It's the bouncer, but
oh my God, that's beautiful.
Yeah, Karate Kid 3.
I didn't think we go there.
So, anybody else got anything to say about change of face?
Well, the ending really doesn't make. I don't know what the point was. Like she survived the shootout. They show her at a new strip club, introduced as Mysterium.
Mysteria.
Yeah.
Change her name. Same
She's
place.
got the bullet holes.
Good point.
Someone
I did not think of that.
$100 bill, and she just tears it up, and that's kind of like the end. So she's not stripping for money. Like there's no. I thought the cop was going to come back and catch her there. Or she had the cop's face on. It's just nothing.
I'm just picturing Danzig at his computer saying, and then she tears up the bill. Oh, this is great. But then I realized I'm saying that he actually wrote something, which I don't think he did. I think he just
made it up as he went along, and no one could tell him no.
Yeah.
So like, and what's crazy about that with Danzig is it's known how much of a he doesn't have any sort of sense of humor like at himself about it all, and it shows through. Like that's why I find this to be sincere as hell. Like some people are saying he had to make it this bad on purpose. Like no way in hell did he try to make this bad.
He thinks this is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Oh God, yes. That's what makes it. And I am of the opinion and the belief that I don't super ascribe to the whole so bad it's good theorem, because I think if a movie entertains you, then on some level it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. This is one of those movies that it just like puts up a neon fucking sign and in super surround Dolby stereo tells you that, like announces its grandiose intentions and completely and utterly fails at them, that you can't help but mock it. It's just there's nothing like it. There hasn't been anything like it in like quite a few years.
The comparisons to The Room I don't think are fair, because like as much as Tommy Wiseau like was just out of his mind and screwed everything up, he was still like somebody who loved movies. It's like Ed Wood. Like Ed Wood was like tried as hard as he could. He loved movies and he wanted to make one. He just sucked at it. Like it's not. This isn't even like that. Like this is just like you can't even like respect that like someone tried to do something amazing and was just such a spectacular failure at it, because he's got zero sense of like self-awareness.
Thank you.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Nail hit on head, Seth. Thank you.
And then, so looking into the last segment, as we talked about earlier on in this in the podcast about Elizabeth Bathory, essentially, I didn't write down the title. Tony, do you have the title? Or
it is Drukia, Contessa of Blood.
Sounds good enough. My main note for this,
I don't know. I don't think they ever actually say her name because it's so weirdly spelled. I don't think they.
I don't
no
think anyone
character
in the
utters
cast
her
could
name,
pronounce it either.
But it's
Just 'cause
Brukija. So I'm assuming that the J is silent, and so that would be Brukija. So I'm thinking Drukia, maybe. There's some sort of Slavic thing going on, or maybe I'm giving them too fucking much credit.
Probably.
I mean, yeah, okay.
It is a period piece.
Yes.
Some reason.
Classy. Very classy.
I like how we all lapse into stone silence when you say that. Yeah, and it's replete with another great bad accent, which is where we get the she is a virgin, a virgin, which is how the Contessa addresses the topic of whether these are deflowered young women or not. I do want to give a shout out.
Match. Do you think if they were from the same ancient land, they would at least have the same bad accent? But like, one has one accent, one has another, and the rest are just like. I think the Contessa's accent actually changes like 3 times.
Oh, you know what?
It does. Absolutely.
Yes.
Lots of wandering accents.
Yeah. Well, the Contessa is just like a very diverse. She favors a diverse cadre of staff members and victims. I think is what's going on with that. I do want to give a shout out to Caroline Williams, who plays the peasant mom, who sends her naively, or maybe not so naively, sends her child off with the Contessa. I
gotta say, because she's fellow chainsaw family, and she's a very, very sweet person. Who I've hung out with many times, and we have a lot of friends in common. She will work for her rate if you can get her. She loves heavy metal music. She loves Danzig. And she just goes in and she just gives 110 million%, and then she leaves.
Yeah, I really was like, okay, for 5 minutes, I'm like, well, maybe we should follow this woman. She's a fuck ton more interesting than anyone else in the movie.
I didn't even realize it was her, so yeah, go on. But I did really see a different energy than anyone else. Like, the only person seemed to have actually any stage presence.
Yeah.
She's the only one with a legit resume in the entire movie.
Well, besides the 500 things that the Spider Demon dude was in.
Oh, of course.
Which, basically to squander your best actor in your entire movie on a relatively small part like that as well. It's just typical of Danzig's visionary outlook on things. Geez, I liked how when she would bathe, she would make sure that she had all of her clothes taken off except for that kind of spangly spark with the spiky dog collar that she had on her head.
Yes.
She'd always leave that on, and I'm thinking, don't you want your hair to stay youthful too? Why are you afraid of getting blood on it?
If you watch carefully, you can see, as she disrobes, that once she gets into the tub, as she's getting into it, she's like, they make a point of it making you think she's climbing in naked, but they don't crop out the fact that she's still wearing like spandex on the lower half.
Didn't notice.
And she gets into the blood.
Oh, this is the kind of movie where you can't help but pick that stuff.
No, I think a blood tube actually shows up at one point.
Yeah, it does. I remember seeing that too. And then
Just,
when she's wandering around the woods later, there's a crew clearly visible in the background.
Yes.
Like, who are those guys? Are they? Nope. Okay, nothing.
and not like hidden in a corner reflection. They're just standing there. Like, it's amazing that they used that shot.
I had to rewind for a second and see, like, did I miss these people's entry? And all right, where are they going to come? No, just scene of her walking through the woods.
Nope, that's a grip.
And at that point, I don't think anybody cared anymore because he didn't have a script. He's just going. Because my continual note for this segment was, do something. Is something going to happen?
She's in that
it's just the same scene.
Thank you.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she's in that tub forever and then gets out and just makes weird facial expressions at the mirror. For 20 hours. She's just staring at that mirror.
That's where they were going to the special effects when she was younger, but they couldn't afford it.
Yeah, just
oh my God,
and then out, and back in, and back out.
Well, this is again, I'm just randomly quoting from my notes. yummy heart munching, supposedly dead victim keeps shifting her arm.
Yes.
Even the corpses give bad performances. Even the fucking corpses give bad performances.
Well, yeah, Titty Girl in the first segment, just same thing too. When she died, you could see her moving around and
it's sort of, but it contributes to the disorientation, the atmosphere of disorientation that Danzig is shooting for, because he's trying to get to that dreamlike state of a Jean Rollin or a Jess Franco film with a little bit of art house pinched into it.
You could say that, yeah. You're trying to get on. I see you're trying to get on the box of the DVD.
Best movie ever.
Says Glenn Danzig.
Yes,
writing for Glenn Danzig. Scored by Glenn Danzig. Produced by Danzig.
Okay. Two more lines that I have to quote because it's the Contessa and they're fucking amazing. Okay, the first one. These both. This one occurs when she feeds some Virgin cutlet to to this wolf who just comes galloping out of the forest. Now, my black beast, bring me a girl, bring her to me, rip out her throat and let me suckle her sweet juices.
That quote-unquote wolf was basically the goofiest, nicest husky anyone has ever seen.
Yeah, I thought for sure something was going to happen there. Like, oh, we have a plot pivot. She's outdoors.
Something will happen.
Yeah.
Nope, just giving it a good doggy its pets.
No, that's an obvious snake meant to be one of her victims.
Yeah. Virgins taste sweet, do they not? When she's feeding the wolf, she says, Virgins taste sweet, do they not? And that's when she goes from German to French. Yeah.
I just want to point out one of my other notes here was bad wigs and worse tits. That's the cover art for this.
Snap.
I don't know what in context it was, but it doesn't really matter because there's no context in this.
Oh, good heavens. Yeah, the thing that I would tell people is if you're going to sit through this, really expect that nothing happens per se. And what you just have to do is just savor the dialogue and savor the complete sober-facedness, straight-facedness that this whole fucking segment is delivered with. This is motherfucking art, motherfuckers.
I think it was a thread where I often say this about American Horror Story episodes where you can watch one episode and it might seem kind of cool and it makes sense and sort of plays off what the previous episode did and sets up what the next episode's going to be. But any sense of cohesion beyond that 3-episode window is gone out the window. It's that's kind of how this is with any given scene of this movie kind of was set up by what happened before it, and it's kind of setting up the next thing. But the first scene and the last scene have zero connection whatsoever.
It's like exquisite corpse style writing,
Absolutely.
You're already seeing a paragraph at the time. Yeah, you only want to know what the previous person did, and that's it.
Yeah, only the first one was done by an 8-year-old, the second one was done by an 11-year-old, and the third one was done by a 9-year-old.
But somehow it's all written by the same person. Oh boy, that was an awful blast of a movie, and I'm glad I finally get to see it.
I could just see the smoke arising from the rickety ruins of this conversation because we're so struck silent by this thing.
Would we actually classify this as a movie and not a mixtape of bad scenes?
You can't. That's a very good way to put it. Just a series of unconnected events.
That should be the title of the series: is Glenn Danzig's seemingly unconnected events.
It's like a fever dream you'd have for watching a bunch of Eurotrash films, and you're having and drink a bunch of NyQuil, go to sleep, and this is what it is. It's disconnected. It's slightly sexy, but not really. This kind of is the thing. Then you wake up and you try to explain it, and what you explain is what you wrote down, and that's what you film. So
yes, thank you. It's really interesting to me that there are things in this movie that if the right director handled it and there was a budget and there were real actors, that if all of that stuff were interlocked, you'd be able to go with this shit, you know? I mean, I can't begin to rattle off the number of European horror movies, largely that I've seen, that will go off the rails in terms of conventional logic, but because there's a sense of style to them, or they've created atmosphere, or there's an interesting, you know, kind of twisty subplot going on. This has none of that. It's like basically, it's like the carcass has been boiled, all of the bone or all of the meat and the muscle and sinew's been taken off, and now they're grinding away at the dried bone. They're just, and that's where they are.
Even Bruno Mattei would shit on this.
Oh, hey, okay. Hello, Bruno Mattei. I'm rocking my Rats Knights of Terror t-shirt. Hello.
Hey, I like Bruno Mattei, but
don't get me started, because we're talking Verotika.
But yeah, we would thank you guys for coming out for the first episode of Worst Movie of the Year to talk about Verotika. I really appreciate having such a great panel tonight.
I don't know when you
thank you.
When your first episode is the worst movie ever.
Yeah. Next time it's I don't know. We'll do Parasite. No, it's got love Parasite.
We might actually
go for the best movie of last year.
We might actually get to do this again.
We're in suspense now. We got to know what is the next movie.
So the next movie I pulled up from 2006, and it's Date Movie. Yeah, that's a pause.
Date Movie.
Yeah. That's the lowest rated movie of 2006. So I hate that movie. I'm going to rewatch it again. But I'll worry about that when the time comes.
Is that one of those ones in the spring of or after Scary Movie was a hit, they started making parodies of everything and it was just whatever?
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. This one is Allison Hannigan. And I don't remember anything else about it. Wow. But so we'll see things go from there. I was hoping whatever would be next would be something more interesting, but I decided not to cheat and really do what came up. And that's what came up. So we'll see from there. But yeah, essentially what I'll do is I'll have different people on based on who's interested in talking about whatever movie. So next time might be any of you guys again, or whatever movie comes up. If you have interest in it, let me know. If anyone's out there listening to this and likes the movie that I might be talking about next week, let me know. Or if you want to be interested, shoot me a message and I'll add you to the group. And where things go from there. Stay tuned for a week from now to talk about Date Movie. But anyone want to say final notes where it can find you? Anything else further on Verotika and just general?
Well, just one final note is I was listening to an interview with Julian Sands, and he was referencing how he's working on a Glenn Danzig zombie western.
Be still my
fluttering heart. It's possible we'll have another one of another Danzig movie to discuss in the future.
All right, that'd be fun.
Please. Thank you for that. Thank you for that postscript. Jason has a Bandcamp page for his band.
Oh yeah, Bandcamp, Spotify, SoundCloud, Laughing Window. You can find it. Also working on some new material. I have plenty of time through all this quarantining, so I'm actually being able to finish some stuff up.
Awesome. Seth, what are you working on?
I'm working on I'm scripting a video game right now. I can't say what it is. It's part of a horror video game franchise, not Resident Evil. But everything's been pushed, of course, with what's going on, so I don't know when it will surface, but as soon as I can talk about it, I will.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Looking forward, man.
Awesome. Tony, anywhere we can find you?
I write about music for a website called artisthome.org, and I write about film for a Seattle film culture website called thesunbreak.com, as well as the City of Geek blog on occasion. I'm preparing something I'm very excited about to post there, but yeah, that's what I'm doing besides chilling, illin, and celebrating this particular day with a lovely gin tonic.
Because Tony took a time out of his birthday to come talk to us today about Verotika.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Tony.
You guys.
Yeah, and I'm Bob Foster on City of Geek as well. And I mentioned earlier on our intros that I do, panel at Crypticon with these guys. And City of Geek, find us there. But also for this page, there's a Facebook setup. I'll put up something for that so you can find us. Subscribe to this, subscribe to City of Geek. Let us know what you might have me watch at some point in the future, I'm open to suggestions as well, outside of the norm. But thank you guys for listening to thank you guys for speaking on the first episode. Thank you any listeners for sitting through our hour of Verotika, and hopefully the audio will sound okay. I haven't a chance to do a check yet, so hopefully it doesn't sound too awful, but hopefully as things move by, I'll get through the format and the audio a little better. But thank you everyone, and we'll see you guys next time. Like, comment, subscribe, all that shit. All right, bye. All right, I'm gonna turn off the recording.
Catch you later.